In a series like Naruto, we got introduced to so many amazing characters, some of who made huge impacts on the story over a prolonged period in time, and others were brought in for a very short duration during the series, but it still had some impact on the franchise. In a series that is so rich with lore and only has 720 episodes off the two anime that are based off of the Naruto manga, there inevitably will be bits of lore that never get properly shown in the series. One of these areas that some will argue that deserve more focus would be on the actual tailed beast. While we did get to see the Akatsuki hunt down the Bijuu from the moment that Itachi and Kisame came to Konoha looking for Naruto, all the way until Madara Uchiha sealed away the 9 Bijuu during the 4th Great Ninja War, the focus was more on the struggle of the Jinchuuriki, people who were viewed as weapons by their villages because they involuntarily had a Bijuu sealed inside their body. Aside from a few passing lines here or there, we weren't given a whole lot about the individual Bijuu themselves. In this newest series on the channel, the Bijuu Guide, I want to talk to you guys about the 9 Bijuu, and in particular I want to start this off by focusing on the One-Tailed Shikaku. Now, the One-Tails has always fascinated me from the moment that we learned that Gaara and Naruto were Jinchuuriki somewhere around volume 28 or 29 of the Naruto manga. It really made the interactions between Naruto and Gaara during the Chunin exams hit home that much harder because it showed you just how right Naruto was when he looked at Gaara and said that they were both very similar, and Naruto wondered if he'd truly been alone, if he could have actually ended up like Gaara. Whereas the Kyuubi was shown being eternally brooding and always mad at the world, the Shukaku One-Tails was shown having a bit of a smart mouth, a really short temper, and being extremely childish, which does make a lot of sense when you consider the Japanese folklore that the One-Tails is based off of. So you have the raccoon dogs being a rival to the equally mischievous fox spirits, which makes you look at the rivalry between Kurama, who is a fox, and Shukaku, who is a raccoon dog, that much more differently now. Now, at times this Bijuu did act as if he got just a little too turned up during the night before everything happened in the series. Now, the lore behind Shikaku's even more interesting when you look at him. When we first get introduced to him, we're told that Shikaku was the type that goes on a murderous rampage, especially on the night of a full moon. And Shikaku is shown having huge hatred towards human beings. He tormented Gaara to the point where Gaara couldn't reasonably sleep. He was the reason that Gaara suffered so many hardships as a Jinchuuriki, from his own father hating him to Gaara's own relative trying to kill him. However, we find out afterwards that the One-Tails wasn't always like this. Just like the Joker said over in Batman, all it takes is for somebody good to have one bad day, and Shukaku's not any different. So when you look at the very first Jinchuuriki of the One-Tails, a priest who was locked up with Shikaku, Shikaku grew very fond of him because this priest reminded him of the Sage of Six Paths, and he vowed basically to get along with him as long as this priest never forgot his name. Though Kurama and Shikaku do have a bit of beef over the power system of the Bijuu, with the One-Tails being the weakest due to it only having one tail, and Kurama being the strongest due to him having 9 tails, Shikaku isn't a pushover like a lot of people say. So Shikaku can throw down in battle if need be, because he does possess 3 changes in chakra nature. He has wind release, which we saw him use against Urashiki in the Boruto series. He has earth release, and he has the Kekkei Genkai for magnet release, as shown when he loaned some of his power to Naruto to use magnet release Rasengan in the hopes of sealing Madara. Though these two Bijuu do have their differences, as Hagoromo said when he split them apart, the 9 Bijuu do have a link that can never be broken. Going a step further, once the war ended, Hagoromo stated that he wanted the Bijuu to use Naruto as a meeting point, since Naruto had the chakra of all 9 Bijuu, and he wanted the remaining half of the Kyuubi to seal itself inside of Naruto as a way to continue to make this possible. In the anime, in episode 464 or 465, we learned that the reason why the One-Tails was placed into the care of the Hidden Sand Village is because Hagoromo requested that the One-Tails go live in a temple that was in this area. Now, it seems all fine and dandy, however, this does become a bit fuzzy when you look at the other lore of the series. Now, during the First Great Ninja War, when Hashirama held a 5 Kage summit to stop the fighting among nations, the Sand Village made it very clear that they'd already captured their own Bijuu, and the various bits of lore make it very clear that the monks at the temple were the ones who captured the One-Tails. So there's a bit of a question as to how the One-Tails actually ended up in the care of the Hidden Sand Village, but that's neither here nor there. For a good bit the time, the teapot that the One Tails was kept in was believed to be haunted by many people in the village, but it was also during this time that Shikaku, despite his circumstances, would attempt to make good with humans despite his situation by befriending his very first Jinchuuriki. Now, the Sand Village priest held in captivity alongside of him was somebody that made a huge impact on Shikaku. Another of his Jinchuuriki would also go on to inspire the third Kazekage to create the Iron Sand Jutsu that is rooted in Magna Release and that the third Kazekage was made famous for. The only reason why he ended up in the care of Gaara as a Jinchuuriki was because neither Tamari or Kankuro were deemed to be suitable hosts who were compatible with the One Tails, and so much like the Kyuubi, Shikaku was forced into the body of an infant. However, in the case of Shikaku, this was done while Gaara was still inside the womb of his mother. What's also very fascinating about the One Tails is that he went from being feared by the people of the village because whenever his Jinchuuriki would go to sleep, he would go on a murderous rampage, to being someone who the villagers now sought to protect, as shown when Urashiki was hunting down the One Tails. Even before that, the way that Gaara fought so passionately to keep the One Tails from being sealed away is yet another reminder of just how far this character's grown, in my opinion. That despite all the efforts to push Gaara away and make life an eternal hell for him, Gaara still viewed him as being a comrade, as being a citizen of the Sand Village that the Kazekage must protect. In the years afterwards, his image has only continued to evolve, with him now being made into a plush toy that children buy and being shown having a soft spot for Himawari Uzumaki during the anime episodes when Boruto brings Shikaku back to the village to be protected. Aside from being able to fire off rapid fire wind style bullets at his targets, as well as fire off sand bullets, Shikaku's also pretty scary when you consider the other aspects. Being made of sand, his body's able to withstand a lot of attacks, and he can also dish out attacks as well. We've seen concentrated wind blasts destroy entire areas, as shown in Boruto when he destroyed an entire landscape with an attack when he fought against Urashiki. He is also able to use earth release jutsu that are capable enough that even Madara's Susanoo was briefly held powerless against it until Madara used more chakra to overcome it and bust out of it himself. But considering how freakishly overpowered Madara was at the time, that is a feat in itself. However, that's gonna be it for this first installment of the Bijuu guide. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Obviously, up next I'll be talking about the Two Tails, and that's gonna be really fun because that's another Bijuu that I think has a little bit more lore behind it. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.